All right, Tim Scheld from News Radio 880 is on the line with us right now from WCBS. Hey, Tim, how are you? What can you tell? What have you seen down there? What have you heard? Hey, Tim, can you hear us?
I can.
Oh, hey, how are you? You're with Chris Raggy and Mary Calvi. Tim, thanks. Tim,
hey guys,
what can you tell us from what you've seen and heard down there?
I'm down at Ward Street, probably about 50 yards away from the upended base of the crane, a vantage point that Meg had a little while ago. One of the things that I can add to the coverage is that there is some indication that as the crane came down, it may have actually even struck some of the buildings in this area. In other words, it may not have come down as clean as we at first thought. It may have struck one of the buildings, and there might have been some physical damage there as well. And as we look straight downwards here, I mean, I have an east-west vision, and I'm looking east in that direction, and I can see that the boom is Chris. You probably have a good TV picture at as well. But from street level, you can see that this was a crash of the boom that was not a straight drop. And we did hear the same story that I heard Meg relay, which is that the workers in the area had told us that they thought this crane was doing some sort of work in relation to the roof of that building, that 20-plus story building on Ward Street, and perhaps it was raising a generator, perhaps it was working on some water cooling, we don't know, towers on the top, but it appears it was working that end of the job. Earlier when I got here, I spoke to a woman who lived a block and a half away, and her mouth was agape, and she was watching what happened in her neighborhood. And also told us the story about how she was walking in here yesterday with her husband, looking at the crane, wondering out loud. She said she and her husband actually asked each other, boy, you wonder if that thing is safe. And this morning, you know, their worst fears came through. Ward Street is not a very wide street, so didn't have a lot of traffic on it, but one of the areas right at the area of the upended base system area is a parking lot, an area where people who come to work here leave their vehicles. So very, very, very busy area of Ward Street that was affected here.
All right, Tim. Tim, have you noticed the first responders have been able to clear a lot of people out of the area?
There's a lot of people live in this area, a lot of people work in this area, and they are letting some people get into their offices or in and out of their homes. But they have really ribboned the area with yellow do not cross police tape. They're trying to keep people away. I don't have an indication that they feel that this is a dangerous situation. We're fairly close. I mean, you know, we say I'm 50 yards away from where the base is upended, and there are people all on the block. And I see Con Ed workers, and I see water department people. I see city workers. I see a lot of street cops that are in the area. I don't think they feel like they're doing a danger from gas or that, but they certainly are checking, I can tell you that.
Well, you know, it's funny. We did talk with someone from Con Ed before who said that there was reports of a strong smell of gas in the area. You don't smell anything?
No, and I've been down here for more than an hour, and I've been close. I was down West Broadway first, and there was no indication that we had that here. And I can tell you, if any of the responders worried about that, we wouldn't be this close, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah, 57 Worth Street is the address they're giving us for that confirmed gas odor. They're trying to isolate it right now as we continue to follow that part of the story. But, Tim, I wanted to ask you, as you were saying that it looks like it hit a building on the way down, we have reports of a rooftop that was damaged. Is it possible, do you believe, that the crane maybe came down, hit that rooftop, and then continued to go down further?
I think that when we hear what happened here, Mary, I do think that we're going to find out that it may have teetered and may have strayed from mid-block, and the boom itself is what we're talking about, that may have strayed the building. You know, the heavy part of the crane is the base, and that obviously couldn't move very far, but it literally is upended. It's overturned on the middle of Ward Street. It spreads on facing the sky. So obviously, whatever the weight they were dealing with on the upper end of the crane, the uneven aspect of it that tipped this crane allowed this base to flip right over. And the boom itself, there are reports from people who are on this block who've seen it. I can't see the damage specifically, so it's not really that obvious. But I'm told that the boom did scrape it may have hit a couple of these buildings on the way down.
Well, that would be a reason for all of that debris that we are seeing on the streets, bricks, metal, all kinds of debris right there on the ground. And Tim, of course, you will be asking these questions at CBS 880 as well as us here at WCBS TV. But the questions about the safety of the crane, of course, you've covered many, many crane accidents in the city, and some in just the past couple of years.
I remember very vividly being on 57th Street right before Superstorm Sandy rolled into town, and that crane right on the building right at in the middle of Manhattan on the tall residential tower that now it is a feature of the skyline. That crane boom came down right before the storm and was like a fissure against that building and had to be strapped down when the storm came in. There were many questions about crane safety in the city from that point on, and I know that those questions will be asked here as well.
All right, Tim, thanks. Yeah, I remember.